about evangelism. One side afraid of offending people, the other side afraid of being offended or tackled, depending on what the case may be. I like Rebecca Manley Pippert. I don't know if any of you have heard of her. She's quite a prolific writer, especially about evangelism, and she describes it this way: evangelism sounds like something I wouldn't want to do to my dog, let alone my friends. So that's how she kind of sums up the whole topic of evangelism. Now, what I started the morning off, I said I'd like to give you a couple minutes for you to share verbally about some of your positive or negative impressions or experiences with either evangelists or evangelists. When you hear that word, either evangelism or when you hear the word evangelist, what are some of the things that come to mind most quickly? And I'll give you just a minute to yell some of those out. Bold. Okay, definitely people with a boldness like we just saw. Maybe not that bold, but definitely bold. Pushy. Okay, is that a positive or a negative? That would be a negative. Okay. There you go. That has a nice ring to it. Yeah. Okay, so then you get into the whole, that just creates, when I was talking at Ottawa U about religion, basically the subject of TV evangelists came up, and I asked the class, about 200 students, you hear TV evangelist, what kind of picture comes to your mind? Is it, we were doing the thumbs up or thumbs down, and around the room it was like the most immediate thumbs down I've ever seen. And that's, so often it is equated with the money, and that's where you hear people time after time. I spent a good bit of time on YouTube this last week looking at various evangelists and television ministries and so on, and it's amazing to look at the little comments under the video clip. Because time after time after time, you see this 8 or 9 minute bit, and I was getting disgusted with most of it. But the comments underneath are, time after time, that's what I can't stand about organized religion. That's why I don't want to have anything to do with organized religion, because that's the perception, right? Evangelist is somebody that's doing whatever some of these folks are doing on TV and making a killing off of it. It looks like big business. Yeah, any others? Turn off? Yep. Anything in particular, or just the whole thing? Get your back up. Yeah. Yep. Okay, so but the whole thing struck you initially as hypocritical. People trying to push something on you that they probably weren't living up to themselves. Okay, a lot of yelling and rambling, not all of it, which makes sense. Revival? Yeah, back when I was growing up, my first connection was to that, because an evangelistic crusade was about a revival that was going to be happening. So initially, at least in my experience, it had a positive connection because something good was going to happen, but it certainly seems to have shifted. Somebody else over here? Okay, somebody comes in, blasts you, tackles you, and then they're gone. Yeah. Dan and Yasmin, or Dan or Yasmin, or both of you, one of you. Do you mind coming up for just a second? They had their first anniversary? Second? Oh, man. You sure, or does it just seem like 2? No, it's 2. Second anniversary. Went to New York City for a couple days, a weekend. Took in Yankees game and some things like that. But you also had kind of a neat experience on the subway.
Yep.
Do you mind just telling us a little bit about that for a couple minutes? Who you met?
We met a guy on the subway. No.
There you go. Okay, thanks. You can,
No, we were there for the Yankee game, or our anniversary, right? And like most visitors to New York, we got a little turned around when we were traveling, And I was trying to be subtle about looking at the map because you don't want to be that guy, with the map and the camera and everything. So I was we were in the corner looking, and then all of a sudden this guy over here is like, do you need any help navigating your way? Well, he didn't say that, but he asked if I needed help. And, like most people, we're a little standoffish when strangers approach you and talk to you. But there was just something about this guy that seemed like comforting. It was like 40 degrees Celsius in the subway in New York. And he's in this like 3-piece wool suit. It's like 10 p.m. on a Saturday night. But he explained to us that the train we're about to get on was going in pretty much the exact opposite direction that we wanted to go. But since we'd already paid to get in, I was too cheap to go across the street. So he explained to us exactly where we needed to go, and I think he even offered to walk us to our other train, but I was too proud to accept that offer. So we get on the same subway as him, and it turns out him and the guy he was with were ministers at this inner city church in New York. But like you were saying, most evangelists are either way overzealous and they'll turn you off with that, or I tend to view evangelists, I associate that word with preaching to the converted, in that you're not really reaching anyone. You're not going to reach anyone new with that kind of over the top, put my hand on you and you're healed. I think people are already into that kind of thing if they're going to believe that. But this guy, there was 4 girls sitting on the subway, and you could tell by the way they were dressed and the way they're acting, they're on their way to have a good time somewhere. But he was just talking to them not as if they were any less than him. And I think one of the things he said was that no matter where you've been on Saturday night, you're always welcome at church on Sunday morning. And I just thought that was a really awesome way to encourage people to come to church, not be like, where are you going tonight? What are you going to do? You better get your act right. And this guy, him and the other guy they were with, they took turns. One would lead the Sunday sermon while the other would do volunteer work in New York somewhere. And that to me was kind of redefined what evangelism can be, because like we've been discussing, I think 90% of the answers that were thrown out when you asked about evangelism were negative. So I thought that was pretty positive.
So in a matter of how many minutes?
5 minutes.
Kind of a lasting impression.
Yeah. And still, I'm I regret that I didn't get that guy's name and find out more about his church and stuff, because he was just very magnetic and compelling and not overbearing or intimidating at all, and he was a good-looking guy, and he said no matter when he's out of the house, he always wears a 3-piece suit. I thought that was a little bit odd, but he just, because he likes to look good, I guess, and I mean, it was 40 degrees, and he had this silk handkerchief that he kept dabbing his brow with, and he's so suave, and I was really taken with him.
I like the suit.
Yeah.
But I remember you saying that if you had thought about it a little bit more in the moment, you wished you had gotten the address of his church, or at least the name of his church, because there was something that compelling about what he was about.
A really young church, so it was ages 18 to 25 that were predominantly coming there, and I thought that really struck me for such a big city, and it's so easy, I think, for young people to get lost and get caught up in a big city life, that he attracted a huge congregation. He said he had a big following. Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate your sharing. I don't even have a 3-piece suit anymore, but anyway. Yeah, I guess I got to get one now. Christmas is coming. That's great. All right, I'm wearing one once over Christmas time. see if it has any kind of impact at all.
That's the cry of our hearts, Lord. We want to be just like you.